Missed an episode of your favorite podcast? Choose from over a decade of content in our archives, not just the latest episode. All free at gcnlive.com.
This is your call to action. Get prepared, America. Economy, survival, energy, disasters. This is USAPrepares.com. Informative radio, educational radio. Interact now by emailing instructor@USAPrepares.com or text at 434-390-7953. Class, please take your seats. Now, your instructor, Vincent Finelli.
Everyone all set? Cocked? Locked? What do I mean by that? I mean, be prepared for everything. Everything. That's what I mean by cocked and locked. You dialed so correctly to USAPrepares.com. We're delighted you're here. We broadcast 2 hours from high atop the Missouri Ozark Mountains. If you'd like to call us, 866-582-9933, 866-582-9933. The listen line, 605-477-3249, 605-477-3249. There's a link to all of your instructors on the website, USAPREPARES.com. Mackenzie's engineering the broadcast. Kyle's going to be joining us engineering in just a few minutes. I'm Vincent Finelli. There's a link to your instructors at USAPREPARES.com. Today we're going to talk about taxes. Kurt Wilson's joining us. He's on the landline calling in right now. Yeah. He's on the phone here at the studio, and Kurt Wilson will be calling in right now. Mrs. Finelli, could you have Kurt Wilson call right back in? Could you have Kurt Wilson call into the studio right now? Great. Okay. So, extension 122. Kurt Wilson has been put on hold, and he's been getting lost somewhere in the system. So maybe he's on another extension. If you could check with that, Mackenzie, I'd appreciate it. So here we are. We're talking about taxes. And one of the things that we'll be talking about the attack by the state of Missouri on we the villagers. So the state of Missouri is sending out these computer-generated letters. They've stolen money from us, and they've used it to buy a computer system and software and so forth. And then they hire people to man and women these computers and spit out these letters demanding that you pay sales tax, and they say it's unpaid sales or use tax. And they are the first one that we got was like $35,000. The second one was like $65,000. That added up to $100,000. And they decided that, I guess maybe they were wrong because we proved that they were wrong. And now they're coming after us for about $1,000. So they just don't quit. Well, I've had it with these thugs. I've absolutely had it. And I called Kurt Wilson of Survival Enterprises, SE1.US, and asked him if he would join us today. And Kurt Wilson has joined us. Welcome, Kurt.
Well, nice to be here. I tried calling in earlier, but the engineer wasn't there, so a janitor answered the phone and put me on elevator music. So finally they got through. Finally I got through. So good morning, Vince.
Good morning. Hey, Kurt, I've got to tell our broadcast class, what happened when I called you and I said, hey, Kurt, you want to come on the air on Friday and talk about, taxes and things that are happening? And you said, that's a really good day for yard sales and garage sales. Yeah, I'd rather be on the radio. And I'm thinking, really? I'd rather be at yard sales because we hardly have any of them here. A yard sale would be a huge treat for me.
Well, in Idaho, see, the problem with having yard sales is we only have 2 seasons. We have winter and construction. And so if there's a day that's clear and above 30 degrees, people will pop up yard sales all over the place. And yesterday it was 85 degrees. What is it? Thursday, 85 degrees. Wednesday, It was 49. Yesterday, 85. Today it's going to be about 72 with possible thunder showers, but in the afternoon. So that means they're going to be having yard sales this morning. But when you said taxes, you lit a fuse in me.
Oh, boy. Well, they lit a fuse in me. And, Kurt, I haven't had a good fight in a while. And, I've come out against Allied Waste, the number 2 dump company in the country, and we beat them.
They're mafia.
That's right. And only 2 counties, as far as I understand, up until the point where we did battle with Allied Waste, only 2 counties, and we were one of them, stopped Allied Waste's invasion into our county in Virginia. It was a rough fight. I mean, it was a rough fight, but we prevailed. And then the other fight that we had in Virginia was the Shaw Carpet Company. They had an abandoned building, and they wanted to build a private prison in our little town of 500 people, and we fought them and beat them too. And so we have a really good success rate of fighting these unconvicted criminals. However, the one thing that we have not been able to prevail in, the only thing, is fluoride. We've been involved in many fights, including out-of-state fights where a homeowner plants a garden in their front yard, like in Orlando, Florida, and gets fined $500 a day for being out of compliance with code. And so we took them on and gave out their phone numbers and the cell phone number of the investigator. And, by the afternoon, they gave up. They decided they were going to change the ordinance. And then in Missouri, there was a House bill to ban AK-47s, AR-15s, magazines over 10 rounds, certain pistol grips.
Yeah, typical Democrat garbage.
Yeah. Well, what we did was I found out who sponsored the bill. I called them in the morning, and I gave out their cell phone numbers. I called the Missouri State House of Representatives, and I said, I don't have Rory Ellinger's cell phone number. May I have it, please? And I got it, and I said, and Jill Shoup, hers? Great, thank you so much. And I gave out their phone numbers on the air. And I talked about the confiscation of property. And I said, it's kind of like you buy a refrigerator. And they say, okay, this is a good refrigerator. This will last, a good durable refrigerator, Whirlpool, whatever. And so you bring it home, and then you find out, maybe a year later or 2 years later that, these CFCs, these fluorocarbons, they're dangerous. They're damaging the atmosphere. And then the government says, look, you can't have them anymore. That refrigerator is really dangerous. So you have 90 days to turn in your refrigerator to the government without compensation. You have 90 days to get it out of your state, Missouri, for example, in this hypothetical, fictitious example. You've got 90 days to get it out of state, or you can destroy it. And if you don't, you will be guilty of a felony, which is something that you can be put in jail for 7 years, because, now that refrigerator that you bought thinking it was perfectly above board and legal and you did everything according to the rules and codes and so forth, statutes, but now they changed their mind. It's not legal anymore. So that's the example that I gave and then people realized that this is serious business, because that rifle that they bought, that AR-15, is absolutely perfectly legal one day. The next day, Missouri says you can't have it here. Well, they went ballistic. And they called Rory Ellinger on his cell phone. They called Jill Shoup, these 2 thugs, these state alleged representatives, and they beat them up on the phone. They yelled at them. They screamed at them. They called them all day and all night, and they were relentless because these 2 thugs wanted to steal personal property. And by the afternoon of the next day, this didn't even take a day, a full 24 hours, less than 24 hours later, I was watching on the internet KMOV television, a news clip out of St. Louis, Missouri. And there was Rory Ellinger, and he's saying, where'd these people get our phone numbers? These are our cell phone numbers. They're yelling at us. They're screaming at us. They're mean. And, that was the intent. He was really livid that people were angry that he was in the business of trying to steal their property, and they were rising up. Well, ultimately he died. And he's no longer around to shove us or, push us around. I didn't wish that on him, but evidently it happened. But I happened to be at a meeting. The reason I'm telling you this is it's interesting how these things happen. I was at a meeting at a restaurant, and there was this other thug, and he, an alleged representative, and he wanted to have this bill passed where you'd have the right to farm in Missouri. And what he was doing is he was telling us how good it is to have the right to farm. Well, I have a right to farm without that. I have a right to farm, but now so many stupid people joined in and said, yeah, you have a right to farm. And they voted for this amendment that now we have a right to farm subject to the health department.
Yeah. There you go, subject to.
Yes, subject to. But
this is what communists do. And Democrats are not anything other than communists with the volume turned down.
Mm-hmm. So I was at this meeting with this guy, and they're trying to figure out who I was, because I would just sit at this table in this back room of the restaurant listening to all this nonsense about how good this right to farm bill is. And every time I asked a question, which was very seldom, the meeting would stop. Everybody would look at me like, who is this guy? Because I never said who I was. Actually, what I told them when they said, why are you at this table? I said, well, actually, I was supposed to be at a different table, but that was all full. And I thought I would sit here because you guys are talking about, I have a little calf, and you guys are talking about cows, and I'm just kind of concerned about my, and they have really good hamburgers here, don't they? So that's why I'm here. And so, so finally, this guy was so annoyed with me. He said, I don't know who you are, but every time you ask a question, you totally disrupt this. As a matter of fact, I forgot what I was talking about. That's what I do. And he was so annoyed with me. After the meeting, he said, and it wasn't like I was interrupting a lot. I was just kind of scratching my head and asked like a one-line question. Very simple question. But it put him in a box and they couldn't get out of it. After the meeting, he said, so who are you? I said, well, I'm just a farmer. And he said, what else do you do? Well, I have a radio show. I do a national broadcast. And he said, did you record this? And I said, no, I didn't record this, but I'll talk about it tomorrow. And thanks for your business card, because I'll be mentioning you and the Missouri Farm Bureau, your buddy there, and I'll be talking about you guys and what you're up to. And I said, did you ever hear about House Bill 545? You know, that AR-15? He said, oh my God, those guys were so beat up, they're still talking about that. No one wants to even get close to anything like that again. I said, well, that was the plan. That was the plan. And by the way, I'm the guy who did it. And now these guys are just standing there wetting their pants thinking, tomorrow's broadcast is going to be just like that about them. And you know what? It was. So this is the reason I'm telling this story is so that those in the Missouri Department of Revenue, I don't know, class, I'm on this steroid and it's making me grumpy. And my fuse is real short lately. Really, really short. And so, let me give you an example. When I spend our hard-earned money, and I mean hard-earned, I do it very carefully. And one thing I don't want to do is waste it. And giving it to the government, to me, in many instances, not all, but many, is tantamount to wasting money. And especially the oppressive sales tax in Springfield, Missouri. It's over 8%. Well, I'm not willing to spend 8% if I don't have to. So I'm going to avoid, not evade, I'm going to avoid paying sales tax wherever I can by buying things used. And that's perfectly above board. The sales tax has already been paid on whatever it is I'm going to buy if I buy it used. Someone else paid it. Good for them. Well, I don't want to pay it. So, for example, I needed a cement mixer. I'm putting in this array of solar panels. And so I found a cement mixer on the internet. $240 would be, a good price if I could get one new. That'd be a very low price. I bought it for $90. Why 90? Because that's what the man wanted for it. I didn't say, well, how about if I give you 20? He wanted 90, and I was certainly willing to buy it for 90. It's like brand new. I bought a tile saw. It's a Grizzly brand tile saw. Selling price $6.99. I paid $240 for it. Why? Because I needed it. I bought it used. No sales tax. No sales tax due. I bought some trailer ramps, at least $800 worth of trailer ramps so I get vehicles on our trailer. Less than $200. Used. I'm going to buy a vise. At least a $200 vise. It's $40. Now, it's used. I will not be paying sales tax on that. And one of the things we're going to teach you during this 2-hour broadcast is how you should look at taxes and how you can save an enormous amount of money. If you don't save $1,000 by listening to this broadcast every year, something's wrong. Okay? Just by what we're going to teach you probably in hour number 2. Kurt Wilson's with us, SE1.us. Kurt's a broadcaster, and you can listen to him over the weekends. Kurt, how do we hear you on the air?
Well, you go to armchairsurvivalist.com, and it'll tell you how you can listen to me. I'm on shortwave, internet, of course. I have recorded podcasts, satellite. I'm everywhere. They play me in the Navy, aboard ships, on the oil platforms in the Gulf and up in Alaska. I never know where they're going to put me, but I'm everywhere. I'm international. Half the places that hear me don't want to hear me.
Good for you. Now, have you been fired yet?
Or
are you still working on it?
No.
Okay.
I've been broadcasting over 20 years, and I started on different networks. Let's just put it that way, and then moved to another one, and then moved to another one, and finally I'm on Scriptures for America now, and I'm what you would call a legacy broadcaster. It was in the will of the owner of the network to leave me on the air. And so I'm on the air, and it's Scriptures for America. Any of you who like that, they're the world's largest shortwave Christian broadcasting network.
Wonderful.
Which is strange. I'm the one guy that on there that's not a Bible thumper, and I told the pastor that. I said my ministry is to help people survive in all facets of life, and that kind of thing. And he goes, that's good. At least you're. And this is a quote. At least you're not full of crap.
I remember.
I said I might or might not be, but that's beside the point.
I remember approaching some preachers in the Springfield Bible Belt here and asked them to bring their flock to the Get Prepared Expo. I said, you get 52 weeks in a year. You've got them for 52 weeks. How about just 1 week? Physical preparedness for 1 week, and you can do the rest 1 week of physical preparedness and 51 weeks of spiritual preparedness. What do you think about that? Nobody would take me up on it. It's something about donations, I think.
Well, it's different out here. I'm in North Idaho, and it's different out here. I buy eggs from a pastor of a big church out here, and half a dozen other pastors come in and get stuff from us, and we palaver all the time and talk. And I know a lot of the old-time big boys the government hates.
That's wonderful. That's wonderful. Sounds like a nice association to be in. When we come back, Kurt, I want to tell you something that happened to me at the Farmers Cooperative yesterday, and it kind of dovetails with this attitude I have now about fighting back. And we're going to talk more about taxes as well. But this is a strategy that involves lots of things. I've been buying supplies at the same Farmers Cooperative for about 12 years. And those who know me know I don't buy one of anything, and I try to buy in bulk when I can for lots of reasons. One, it saves a lot of trips, and two, I get better prices. So we order this dog food that's not normally carried by the Farmers Cooperative, and we said, well, if we buy it in bulk, will we save money? That we asked initially, and they said, well, yeah. If you buy 3 bags or more, we'll give you $1 off each bag. Well, great. So for years, we've been getting $1 off per bag. Well, the regime changed. The people who work there are mostly gone. They got the new regime. That didn't work out so well, so they got a new regime. And that's working okay. Except they've got this one gal in the office who is not very nice to us. She insults Mrs. Finelli every time she goes in there, and we just despise going in there. Anyway, so whenever we go in and we say, don't forget our discount, for the $1 off per bag when we buy multiple bags of dog food, and that's what they've been giving. And then in this chiming out of the office, there is this woman who says, they don't deserve that. They don't deserve that. They shouldn't be getting that. Really? That's the agreement. That's the agreement that we have, that we get $1 off per bag if we buy 3 bags or more. Normally we buy 6 bags. What we do is we call them up and say, Lee, can you order these for us? Thank you very much. We'll be there this week. We figure it'll take you a couple days to get it. And we always buy what we order. It's not like we ask them to buy something and then stick them with it. We don't do that. We honor our obligations, always. Anyway, so I was kind of anticipating a problem yesterday because we were going to buy some cattle panels. These are 16 feet long. They're about 50 inches high, and they're $19.99 each. So I thought she'd give us a hard time. So I called the office 20 miles away, and I said, the store, same organization, but it's 20 miles away in a different town. I said, I talked to the salesperson there. So what is the price? $19.99. Okay, what if I buy 20 or more? Oh, I'll be $1 off. Okay, I appreciate it. I'm Vin Finelli. Thank you so much. So I go to the local guys right in our little hamlet, and they said, I asked them for 30 of them. And they said, okay. I said, is there a break on 30 of them? They said, well, we'll give you 50 cents off each. I said, well, you know a guy named Brian? He's the manager at the other store. He gives us $1 off. Really? Okay. I said, what? I guess I should go there, right? And he said, no, don't go there. Don't go there. We'll sell them to you. And I said, so, but why are you going to charge me more? Well, we'll give you the $1 off. I said, it sounds to me like I need to run for the board of directors of this cooperative. And my platform, and now people are listening to me. The place is packed. And now everybody's looking at me because I'm speaking in a normal voice. They normally speak in whispers. I said, so I need to run on for the board of directors, and my platform is going to be lower prices because you guys charge too much. And then I said, and this is the new enhanced steroid enhanced Vin Finelli. He's out of control. So, and I said, so we're loading these cattle panels, and I said, by the way, that gal Debbie in the front office, she's kind of mean to us, and it's really, my truck doesn't want to turn left when I go in front of this cooperative. It wants to keep going. It wants to go any place but here. It hates going here because we're treated so badly by this woman. As a matter of fact, I'm going to run for the board of directors, and I'm going to get her fired. And the guy's looking at me, and I said, well, I can't really do that. But what I can do is, if I'm on the board of directors, I can influence the manager, and I can tell the manager if he'd like to keep his job, he's going to have to fire Debbie. That's how I'm reacting now. I've had it, absolutely had it with people who just don't live up to their obligations, who give me a hard time. Kurt, your thoughts?
My thoughts is you're too nice a guy. It's very simple. I've gone into I had one of the largest gun shops in California, on the corner of 8th and K Street in Modesto, California. Next door to me was the largest feed store in the whole Central Valley, and there was a female there that she was snide and rude, and the kind of person that can insult you behind your back, and everybody laughs, and you're like, what was that type thing? And this is the kind of person she was. She thought she was God's gift to mankind because she had a perfect figure, and they sold cowboy clothes. They sold Western clothes and a lot of accumulations like that. And I was in there with my wife one day because somebody had broken into their building behind them. They broke into it, and I was in there to tell them that because obviously they didn't know because the window was still broken. So I went in there, and she's in there, and she goes, she said something to my wife about, you sure you're in the right department for the clothes? Because you don't wear these kind of clothes. And my wife's 5'4". She doesn't take crap from anyone, including me, and I'm 6'2", 260 pounds. And my wife looks at her, and she goes, honey, I can afford to buy every damn thing you have in here, including you. So shut up and get the manager.
You know, I was thinking you were talking about Debbie. I was thinking you were talking about Debbie, except you said, you described her physical attributes, and now I know you're not talking about Debbie. But go ahead.
No, you don't. See, here's the thing, and I can't say this over the air, but I was raised on the Indian Reservation, Klamath Reservation, Northern California, Southern Oregon, and one of the things that I learned is a saying, and I can't say it the way they say it over the air, but I can give you an inkling. I don't eat crap. I don't take crap. I'm not in the crap business. And this is what people have to have. I'm not politically correct. If somebody steps on my toes, I'm going to call them on it. And that's what you have to do, like you have done. When somebody affronts you, when somebody acts in a suppressive, evil manner, oh, we're going to ban inanimate objects. Call them on it. You ever hear of Congressman Gary Condit?
Yeah, Condit it. Yeah, Levy.
Yeah.
Con did it.
I'm the guy that broke the story.
Uh-huh.
I'm the guy. I had so I was the NRA recruiter in Modesto, and he came in because he was a congressman at the time, and he wanted to impress us yokels of how great he was. So there's pictures of me and him in the newspaper, and he's telling me, he goes, "I'll never vote for gun control ever, 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 blah, blah, blah." So what happens? The Brady bill comes up. He was the deciding vote, and there happened to be a radio show. He was being interviewed on a 50,000 watt station in San Francisco, which I was broadcasting over. But apparently he didn't know my radio show was there. So he was talking about how great he is again on the radio, and how sad it is about the gun control got passed. But and I'll quote, "But we had to do something to get those assault weapons off the street." And I called up on the air, and I said, "Congressman, this is Kurt Wilson." And he goes, "Oh yeah, how you doing, Kurt?" I said, "Yeah, I only have one question. Why did you lie to me?" He went ballistic. "I don't know who you are, blah, 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 blah." And I said, "Oh, that's fine. I have right here in my office, I have a copy of the newspaper article where you and I met, and we talked about NRA and recruiting, and there's photographs of you and me and all of this. So anybody thinks that I'm actually lying, I'd be more than happy to show the difference." From that point on, he would have nothing to do with Modesto. He wouldn't come into the city because he was afraid I'd be there. Yeah. So you have to stand up. You can't say he's authority, so he's beyond reproach. No. These guys, power corrupts. Absolute power corrupts absolutely every time. They're it's as simple as that. So you're like me. You call them when they step on your toes.
Absolutely. I'm really not looking for a fight. I got more on my plate than I can handle. However, when my family is threatened, that's when I go into full defensive mode. And my defensive mode includes exposing the thugs. We were talking about taxes. I want to share something with you before, I guess the next hour we'll get into the specifics of what we do. And I like buying things on eBay. I like buying them out of state so I don't have to pay tax on them. And if the state claims that, I owe Missouri tax because I bought these things as a use tax, no, actually that's not true, because I buy things for the farm, and the farm does not pay tax for farm items, okay? And I'm very careful how I do this. But here's what's happened lately. I bought a couple items, and I look to see what state these are being sold from. So it'll say the seller shipping from, if it says shipping from Missouri, I don't buy it because I don't want to pay Missouri tax. If they have a physical presence in Missouri, they, by statute, can charge me tax. So I'll find it from Tennessee or some other place. So I don't have to pay that 8% sales tax. That's when I shop at eBay. So I suggest you do the same thing where you're shopping, Glass. Find out of states.
Buy through Amazon, because Amazon now is legally taking tax from all states.
Yep, Amazon is taking tax. So I avoid Amazon now as well. So anyway, I bought these two items from two different sellers, but it sure did seem like the pictures were the same. It sure did seem like everything was the same, but they are two different usernames on eBay, seller names. So I bought one from one from another. And sure enough, I clicked buy it now, boom, sales tax. So I contacted them in a very terse manner. And it's the new me, the short fuse Finelli. And I said, you're illegally charging sales tax. You do not, and I just said, you do not have a physical presence in the state of Missouri. You're illegally charging sales tax. And here's how much you owe me as a refund for the sales tax that you stole from me. Do you know that both of them within one day said, most so sorry. These were Asian companies. Yeah,
of course.
Most so sorry. They charge us tax. We charge you tax. Sorry, refund, done, that kind of thing. So this is an out-of-country company saying that shipping from all over, shipping from the United States, but they're charging sales tax. So now we have eBay sellers illegally charging sales tax. Now, if you don't call them up short on it, they're going to take extra money, maybe 8%, 5%. You know, the highest sales tax rate is 9.98 in the United States. I wonder how they got to 9.98. I guess 10% would have caused a revolution. But anyway, think about that, class. Think about that and report them to eBay. And we'll be right back. Kurt Wilson. Class, I just want to tell you, I mentioned to Kurt Wilson off the air during the commercial break. I just love broadcasting with him. And he mentioned that we're on the same page. And that's kind of who we are. There are many of us who, regardless of physical size, I'm only 5'7", 138 pounds before I got on these steroids, and now I gained 6 pounds, but I'm still kind of a small guy. But I don't take it. I just don't take it. So if you want to take a page out of our book, regardless of your physical size, you do not have to take abuse, and you can stand up. And as Janet Reno said, if you see something, say something. So Kurt Wilson, you got a story for us?
Yeah, I got a story for you. Northern Idaho had an organization up here called the Americans for Constitutional Government, and it was these were just the good old boys. There were 1,000 or so people in the organization, and ranging in age from 12 to 95. And these were people exactly that. They wanted constitutional government. They didn't want bureaucracies. They didn't want communism. They didn't want anything but constitutional government. We'd have a potluck in winter at the VFW hall, and then we'd have a barbecue at the park on Ramsey Road for 4th of July. And there'd be thousands of us there. If you can name anyone who's been a patriot in the past 20 years, who the government's gone after, these are the guys that were at these meetings. I mean, this was the focal point for all of the militias in the United States. They'd send their representatives there, famous photographers and documentarists that would be there. And because of the work that I did, and I worked with the FBI to handle a lot of hacking from foreign nations, because I had the ability. So I worked with them for 2 years. But while doing that, I discovered and met a lot of people. And I discovered that our government is not a friend of Americans in any way, shape, or form. Their viewpoint is that we are the enemy, and every one of us, now this is the quote, "You're all criminals, you just haven't been caught yet." That's their viewpoint. So one of the guys at this in this meeting is named Phil Hart, at these barbecues and potlucks. Named Phil Hart. Okay, he was our congressman here in Northern Idaho. He wrote a book called "Do You Have Any Constitutional Taxes?" I think that's the name of the book. It was about 3 inches thick, and good Lord, I couldn't read it. I tried. I'd get in 10 pages in, and I'd be going to sleep. He researched the IRS code so pervasively and discovered that there is no taxes. You do not owe taxes. This is a voluntary system. You don't have to pay taxes if you don't want to. He had the proof and everything. No ifs, ands, or buts. He had the proof. Well, I was selling this book in my store. My store is Survival Enterprises, and Vincent said se1.us. Okay, I got phone calls from the FBI saying, you really shouldn't be selling those books because they're, what did they call it? They're anti-American type thing. And I'm like, you're telling me that this is an anti-American thing? He's talking about the IRS. Is that anti-American? So they can't screw with me because I can walk them around the maypole and confuse the hell out of them. So next thing you know, I get a phone call from Phil saying the IRS is after me. They're auditing me. I said, well, okay, they've audited me 3 times already. He goes, no, you don't understand, Kurt. They're declining every single deduction I have, no matter what it is. Now, this guy's an engineer. He's one of the best in North Idaho. So he's millions of dollars are moving through his hands. Now, he's still playing the game of taxes, even though he knows he doesn't have any actually. Well, to make a long story short, next thing you know, the IRS owns his house, took his bank account, took every particle of everything he owned, except clothes on his back, and his wife left him. it's all illegal, but they did it. Why? Because they can kill you if you don't do what they say.
And I had a wonderful session with Hartford Van Dyke yesterday off the air, and he's saying very much the same thing. He's saying, it's illegal, it's unconstitutional, but they do it. And he's going to be with us next Friday at Hartford Van Dyke. Kurt Wilson and I are going to be right back. We're going to talk about specifics with what's happening in taxes. Everyone all set? Cocked, locked. Hour number 2 of USA Prepares. Kurt Wilson's with us. SE1.com. Survival Enterprises is his business, and he's a broadcaster. We're talking about taxes, and we're talking about unconvicted criminals. I'm talking about government minions, government thugs who use the full force of the government and the police and the threat of jail and confiscation of property and liens to attack us. And yours truly has been attacked by the state of Missouri. I'm going to read a letter to you. This is my response. Well, let me tell you what they're doing. They've come after us for $100,000 in unpaid sales tax. Now, for me to tell you that they're coming after us for $100,000 in unpaid sales tax, some people might actually believe that we owe it. Some people might believe that they're right. Well, they're not right. On sales of gross sales of $1,000, they are demanding that we pay them $100,000 in sales tax. They've lost their minds. And according to statute, when a person's involved in numismatic sales or bullion or sales out of state, there is no claim. There is no authority to collect sales tax. They have none. And we file all the documents that they require on time. We pay our taxes in full, and they are not due sales tax on this particular item. When sales tax is due, we pay it. But when it's not due, we absolutely positively will not pay it. And that's the case right now. So what I'm telling you is that they're making this alleged claim that they have no right to collect additional taxes. Now, finally, they backed off on the $100,000. Now they're looking at us for $1,000, roughly. And they've sent us this 5-page document with the assessment date of April 21, 2017, and it's demanding about $1,000. And it lists the tax. For example, state conservation, education, parks, county. These are taxes, $14.80 in tax. The penalty is $3.70. The interest is 23 cents, and the total is $18.73. That's just one item. There's 5 pages of these items, but nowhere does it say what it's for. It just says, here's the amount, and you will pay it. Not only that, it says the explanation of liability. Estimated tax for failure to file the required return and remit sales tax. The assessment is in accordance with the Missouri sales tax law and compensating use tax law. It reflects all applicable state, county, city, district, and constitutional taxes. And it tells us that if we don't pay it, they will put a lien on our property, but they don't tell us what it's for. So, in response to that, I just want to tell you I've been audited at least 10 times by the feds. At least. And it's a lot of fun. When we get audited, we bring the family, and it's an educational experience. Where can you have that much fun for free? You can't, especially if you have all your documentation, and we do. So what happens when we get audited, we get asked lots of questions. And we have all the answers. We have every single answer. No question about it. We don't have to say, I'll call our accountant. We have them all right with us. All the documentation, all the proof. However, it's very difficult for me to understand lots of questions. So I take one question at a time, and I have their question to me results in at least 3 or more questions to them. And I have to fully understand what they're asking me, and it takes forever. Now, these guys are on commission. These guys want us in, paid, and out. And what happens is we're in, we're not paying, and it takes a long time, and we're holding up their commission. So they want us out. They can't wait to get rid of us. And that's the strategy. So here's my letter responding to their demands. Their interrogatories, they want more and more information. They want to know who we've sold to. They want a list of all our emails for years. Well, it's not going to happen. Anyway, so I got this letter, and I'm responding to Stephen Sullivan, and he's the He's the senior counsel to the state of Missouri. He's the legal beagle. He's the head guy. So it's from me. It says, today, May 2nd, 2017, I received this notice with this number for the demand of an alleged unpaid sales and use tax and terroristic threats of liens placed on my property. I take this threat seriously. All Missouri state sales, income, and federal taxes have been filed and paid on time and in full. By the way, when I write in a choppy format, one sentence per paragraph, so there's no misunderstanding. Let me continue to read. As we discussed in person, this is an example of incompetence within the Missouri Department of Revenue. The Missouri sales tax return for the period of October 1 through December 31st, 2016 was submitted twice. Once by standard mail on January 10, 2017, and again on March 25th, 2017 by fax. I know DOR received my original submission because I received a phone call informing me that it was received, but not on a DOR standard form, and that a new computer system was in place that would, and my form would have to be resubmitted on your sales tax non-filer notice, which was faxed on March 25th, 2017 at 4:17 p.m. Central Time Atomic Clock. I complied with this request. No sales tax was due for that period. All sales were out of state. Please provide, now here's where I need their help. Please provide the statute requiring that all filing be on specific state of Missouri numbered forms. Please specify each and every sale that the Department of Revenue alleges have been made with the amounts and the customer and the date and the addresses which total the alleged sales tax due. Additionally, please provide the statute and the algorithm that comprised the alleged penalty and interest. So that there is no misunderstanding, I require that all communications with the Department of Revenue be in writing. Should I not receive correspondence, let me say this very carefully, should I not receive correspondence from you within 14 days, May 17th, 2017, this matter is deemed resolved as originally filed. This letter and its copies are formal requests to investigate DOR abuses and practices. Thank you, Vincent Finelli, CEO, USA Prepares. Who does it go to? The governor. Hannah Kelly, our Missouri House of Representatives, alleged representative. I'll let you know whether she's an alleged representative or a representative as I find out whether she responds properly to our defense or not. And Gilbert Balin, the editor-in-chief of the St. Louis Post-Dispatch. That's just the beginning of our salvo in response to them.
I was just going to, this is Vince, I got to tell you something. I'm sitting here while you're doing that, I'm going, I hope he doesn't just screw around with the Indians. You got to go to the Chiefs. And
Went right to the Chiefs, didn't I?
Yep.
Right to the Chiefs. Okay. And now I'm requesting that we formally disband the Department of Revenue. Now here's why. I'm going to read I don't want to monopolize this broadcast, but I want to read something. This is from the MissouriTimes.com. This is dated July 6th, 2015. It's titled Transparent Tax Rules, Important Reform Bill Signed into Law. Jefferson City, that's our capital here in the state of Missouri. It goes on to say, a new law signed today will finally end a troubling practice in Missouri where the state's sales tax collectors were changing the sales tax rules without telling anyone. Let me say that again. A new law signed today will finally end a troubling practice in Missouri where the state's tax collectors were changing the sales tax rules without telling anyone. Goes on to say, in recent years, the Missouri Department of Revenue has begun requiring additional businesses, such as dance and gymnastic studios, to collect sales tax for their services. The problem is the department didn't inform the impacted business about the changes. Then the department penalized the business for not following the rules that they didn't tell anyone about. That is the gist of this article. That is the incompetence. That is the terroristic threats that Missouri is using against we the villagers. They are changing the rules on the fly, not telling anybody, and then penalizing people for not adhering and abiding by the rules. These are unconvicted criminals doing this. And
I don't know in Missouri, but can you, for inappropriate government action, can you sue the individual directly?
That is the broadcast that we're going to do with Hartford Van Dyke. We're going to talk about exactly how to do this and how to bring these guys up short. Yes. We're going to, there'll be a series of broadcasts about that, and he's going to educate us on how to do that. But, this is a real problem. Making the rules up as we go. That's what these guys do. Well,
you understand that doing that is called Missouri poker. It's a joke, but
the more I learn about the history of Missouri and the treatment of the natives, the Indians, it was absolutely horrible. The people who came here and stole land, absolutely an outrage. Claim jumping, it's amazing what happened. I have the original abstract for our farm from the 1840s, the James Buchanan land grant. As he stole the land as our president and then gave it away. So I have the original abstract from the original land grant from that period in the 1840s when our farm became a farm. It's an outrage. I paid for the farm, but I bought stolen property. I mean, there's no question about it. And I bought it from a guy who stole it from a guy who stole it from a guy who stole it from a guy. It's stolen property. Now, I don't know how to resolve this. Originally, I thought everything was fair and square and we bought it, but we stole the land originally. That's what we did. So governments have been involved in stealing property for a long time. And according to the doctrine of discovery, you discover it, you can claim it for your country. Well, one of our instructors, Dr. Adam Fortunate Eagle, a Native American who lives on a reservation in Fallon, Nevada, he and I were talking about this, and he decided that no one had discovered Italy. So he hopped on a jet, and he planted his spear on the tarmac in Italy, and he claimed Italy for the Native Americans. The Pope heard about it, and the Pope demanded an audience, and the Pope put out his ring for Dr. Adam Fortune Eagle to kiss, and Dr. Adam Fortune Eagle put out his ring, and there was a stalemate. Nobody kissed anybody's rings. But yeah, it was an international incident with USA Prepares instructor Adam Fortunate Eagle. We'll be right back. Kurt Wilson and I are going to talk about a little more strategies on what do you do with these thugs. A little hot under the collar here, class. Based on the attack by the state of Missouri on the Finelli family. Actually, it's usaprepares.com Limited Corporation, and that's me. And the nice thing about this is, it doesn't involve Mrs. Finelli. It doesn't involve our children. They're just coming after USA Prepares, and I am the CEO. I'm the board of directors. So, I can have a meeting this afternoon with the entire board, and we can discuss how we're going to respond. But, things happen very quickly here because I can call a meeting and I can just show up all by myself, and I'm the entire meeting. Well, here's what these guys are doing. Total tax, $754. Additions, which is like penalties, $188. Total is, with interest, is $955. What I'm talking about is a period that they're questioning. The delinquent period, the alleged delinquent period, is October through December 31st. It's 4 months ago. So within 4 months, on what they're claiming, alleging a claim to is $754. 25% is added on as additions. These guys are thugs. Who charges 25% interest and penalties?
Suggestion. I got a suggestion for you.
Yeah.
Find the legal right they have to charge interest and penalties. Now, in the state of Idaho, to do that, to charge interest, you have to have a lender's license. And if you don't have one, then it is a crime to charge interest on a loan or on due money. So I don't know if Missouri has that or not. But
I will look into. Yes, I will look into that.
You're guilty. You're guilty until proven innocent. That's how it works now in America.
And here's the point. But who would borrow money for 4 months at 25%? Nobody. It's beyond usury. It's criminal. And that's what the state is demanding. Now, of course, they're never going to get it because they're not entitled to it. Now, if they were entitled to it, I would pay it. But they're not entitled to it. And I already filed. I filed and I said that here's what we owe. Here's what we paid. And now I'm sure they're going to ask for more information. They're going to try to haul me in front of some review committee or some commission. And I look forward to it. I absolutely look forward to it. Because it will take a long time. They will regret it. They'll regret how long it takes me to understand what they're asking me. And then the next thing is I'm going to require that they complete a civil servants questionnaire. Now, what are these, class? These are these forms where you want to help, you want to comply, you want to do the right thing in their mind, but you need a little more information. Like, who are you? What is your social security number? How much are we paying you? What is your job title? What is your boss? What's your address? Where do you live?
It's all public knowledge anyway if they work for the public.
Yes. And how much have you made? What are you going to do with the information? Am I required to use this information? And it's like 3 pages long. And they will each get one of these. And I will need to have that in order to understand who they are so I can comply. Otherwise, it's very difficult for me to understand. So the point is, they beat us up with paperwork. Now, I was talking to a guy yesterday on the phone. He said, I just throw those things out. When I get them, I throw them out. I said, don't do that. You have to respond because you have tacitly agreed if you don't respond. So what you need to do is respond. And that doesn't mean you have to give more information. Every time they ask me for more information, I ask them more questions about the information that they want. So I make sure I understand why they need it and how they're going to use it, and so how I can help them better. But they don't seem to get the information from me because. Oh, absolutely. I called up the senior counsel. Stephen Sullivan. No, I told him I wasn't going to record it, but I said, I do not give you permission to record me. And he said, okay, I'm not recording you. And I said, okay. He said, are you recording me? And I said, no. And then what I told him is how it's going to go. I told him exactly what's going to happen, how he would be famous. And here's why. Because he had no grounds. And here's what happens. They have these little people, and they say, listen, we gave you a phone, and I know you like Facebook, and I know you like shopping the home network and all that stuff while you're supposed to be working, and we don't have much for you to do because, we're paying you just to keep you off the street. So go find some revenue. So these guys get on their computers and they look for businesses, and they go, hey, USA Prepares, that's a big business. Really? It's just me. And they think that they can extract money from me and threaten me. That doesn't work too well. Because we're in the business of not taking threats very, very kindly. But when we come back, I'd like to teach a little bit about a class and how you can start your own business and avoid paying taxes that you don't need to pay. Kurt Wilson's with us. In class, if you'd like to go to his website, se1.us, Survival Enterprises. And Kurt's a broadcaster. Kurt, I want to have a dialogue with you about something that I used to do. I don't do it anymore, but I had fun when I did it, but I think I wasted a lot of time. That was, I would travel the country talking about how to start your own business and take the same tax deductions that Donald Trump would take. And, of course, he hasn't released his tax return, and good for him. Why should he? It's nobody's business. But obviously he's trying to pay as little in taxes as possible, and that's the right thing. I applaud him for that. Well, so I'd get on stage, and the character I'd play is Columbo. Some people even say that I have a slight resemblance to Lieutenant Columbo. And I'd get up there and I'd, not really scratch my head, but I'd make the motions and the mannerisms that Peter Falk would make. And I would say, so how many of you prepare your own taxes? And a few hands would go up, a very small percentage. I'd say, well, how many people here in this seminar know people who have businesses? And the hands would go up. So who is better off, an employee or someone who owns his or her own business? They think for a few seconds and they say, well, you know what? Actually, in terms of lifestyle, freedom, those who own their own businesses are better off. I go, yeah, I agree with that. And then I'd say, so why is it that those of you who don't prepare your own taxes, why is it that you don't do it? What do you think the reasons are, Kurt?
Lazy. Simple as that. They have attention elsewhere. It's not as simple as sit down and it's all told to you perfectly. That the tax laws are hidden from us. They don't want us, and when I say they, I mean, the powers that be, they don't want us to know all the ins and outs. So they hide all of these deductions and the so-called rights that they give you, and it gets complicated. So that's why you hire somebody to do the work for you.
That's the answer. That is the one word is complicated. And that's the word that kept appearing. And it didn't matter whether I was in Indianapolis or in Alabama or Tennessee or Missouri. It didn't matter where I gave these seminars. The answer was always the same, too complicated. And I'd say, so let me see if I've got this right. If you are going to pay someone to do your taxes, is this someone you hardly know? Well, yeah, hardly know him. But, he's a real good guy. He's a real good guy. He's recommended by Joe. Joe really likes him, and, and, yeah, he's a really good guy. So does he charge you for this? Yeah. How much? Well, one person up to $9,000 for their business. I'm thinking, $9,000? I'm thinking 200 is way too much, okay? So the explanation is too complicated. So then I ask him these Socratic type questions. So you're going to hire somebody you hardly know who is going to dip into your bank account for some amount of money, and you don't even know what that is yet, and is going to tell you how much you need to dip in to pay these thugs, and you hardly know this guy, and you don't know the rules. So I'd say let's go back to when we were very young, and we'd play pickup ball after school. And we decide, okay, we're going to go to Pat's house, and we're going to play ball, and someone's going to have the ball, and someone's going to have the bat, and we'll mark out where the bases are, and so we pick the teams, and everything's good, and the ball's hit, and you hit the ball, and you run around the bases, and you hit the ball pretty far enough to run around the bases and cross home plate. And then 8 seconds later, you hear, you're out. It's like, wait a minute. I'm not out. I crossed home plenty of time. Yeah, but you don't know the 10-second rule. You see, we have 10 seconds to get the ball to the catcher, and you're out. It's like, wait a minute. Where'd this rule come from? So I said to the class, and every class I had, and every seminar, I say, would you play a game like that? And everybody goes, no, because I don't know the rules. And so why would you entrust someone to tell you how much you pay if you don't know the rules? And it's simple. You go to irs.gov, and you download Publication 17. Publication 17. And that's the condensed rule book. Now, it used to be like 80 pages when I first started in the 1970s, fighting with the tax forms and preparing them. And now it's, getting close to over a couple hundred pages. However, there's a section in there about small businesses and the deductions that you can take. Now, if you read that, you will be grinning. You're going to hurt yourself. You're going to be grinning from ear to ear because you're going to learn that you can deduct things in your business that you didn't think you could deduct. And you can decide how much. Like, for example, do you know that you can deduct the business use of your home? Well, first you have to have a business. So how do you have a business? You say, I'm in business. Now you're in business. You're in business. And I would explain to the class that had they, and I'd mention this on the air, so make sure that you decide you're going to have a business before you come to class, because if you do, there's certain deductions that you can take. So I'd say to the class, I really dressed up for you guys today. There's a pair of blue jeans. I bought these specially for today's class. By the way, this is a tax deduction for me. And this shirt, this long sleeve shirt, is a tax deduction. My socks and my belt. By the way, my holster, if I had one, that would be a tax deduction too. And my 45, which they tell me I couldn't carry into the seminar, which I would and did, that's a tax deduction too. And the cartridges for it. So, and my blazer to cover up my 45. So my shirt, my socks, my belt, and my shoes. My combat boots, all tax deductions. Why? Well, because I wanted to look good for class. I thought that, I should. Now, when I say look good, I'm kind of kidding, because I'm wearing blue jeans and a blazer and a tie. So all those are tax deductions. Now, did you know you could deduct those? You can. And how much? How much for travel? Well, over 50 cents a mile, because it's an educational event. You're learning about business. You're learning about increasing your business, growing your business. It's all legitimate. It's in the Publication 17. And how about meals? Well, if it's a business meal, you can deduct 50% of it, half of it. But that's not what we're going to do, because it's an educational event, which you can deduct 100%. Now, please don't believe anything I say. Look this all up for yourself, because the rules keep changing. We talked about that. But they keep changing. But if you read Publication 17, you'll have a handle on what's coming up next. And how about telephone?
Comes out, by the way, that comes out every year.
Right.
Right. Publication 17. it's 19. So it's 2015, 2016. There's not going to be another one for 2017. Hey, I gotta tell you some. I got to tell you, I was attacked. We were attacked by the IRS, Survival Enterprise, and this was a couple years ago. And yes, we hired some quote unquote experts to defend us against this attack, and I ended up having to fire them because they were incompetent, and they weren't. Turns out they were ex-IRS agents, and you're never an ex-IRS agent. You're always working for the IRS because they get a percentage of whatever the IRS actually gets if they help them get it. So I took it over, and I basically, they said, okay, you owe us thousands and thousands and thousands of dollars. And what's that based on? Oh, we're just going to decline your deductions. That's standard operating procedure. Decline your deductions. You have to prove they're valid. Again, you're guilty until proven innocent. Here's a trick, though. I don't know if you would want to do this, but I ended up taking all of my paperwork, all of my receipts, and scanning them onto a disk. Mm-hmm. Okay? Mm-hmm. Separate files on the disk for each division. I mean, it was really articulate, scanned it on there. So I ended up sending that disk to the IRS, starting at the top of the chain all the way down. Mm-hmm. Okay? And then I get a phone call from an IRS agent supervisor in Seattle, and goes, "Why'd you send it to me?" I said, "Well, because I'm trying to get this straightened out, and apparently the person I'm working with is not competent enough to add 1 + 1. So I need to find somebody who is competent enough." So and then I didn't hear anything from him. And on my radio show on Sunday, this is a year or so ago, I came on and I explained the whole thing just like you did today. Mm-hmm. Names, everything. Mm-hmm. On Monday morning, I got a phone call from the IRS in Spokane saying, "You don't owe us any money anymore. In fact, we owe you $785."
Mm-hmm. That's how it works.
Yeah, never give up. Never give up. Keep fighting these until you can't. Oh, and I got a key thing to tell you. I got audited, like you. I've been audited numerous times. We've had the FBI, the ATF, the Franchise Tax Board, EPA, OSHA. Pick an alphabet agency, and they've attacked me. Mm-hmm. The last was the IRS. Okay, but one of the times the IRS attacked me, I want to be as honest as possible. So income, right? And I had one of the largest gun shops in California. I do a lot of gun shows, and people pay cash. They like paying cash, Mm-hmm. So on my tax return, I claimed X amount, checks, a bank account, X amount in the credit cards and checks, and then I claimed more in cash. And when I'm being audited, the lady looks at my report there, and she goes, "I'm sorry, I'm going to have to decline to accept this one entry here." I go, What are you talking about? I've got receipts. She goes, Do you have proof that you took cash? I go, what? Yes. Do you have proof? Did you give specific receipts saying cash or anything like that? I said, no. Well, then we're not allowed to accept your income claim that you took $250,000 in cash. I'm sorry. We're just not going to be able to accept that. I'm sitting there with my jaw dropped. Said, you're not going to allow me to claim that I took $250,000 in cash? No, you can't unless you can prove it. Well, I guess I can't.
That's the purpose of cash. That's the purpose of cash. The anonymity and the settlement of the transaction right then and there immediately.
And that's why they want to do away with cash worldwide, so because they can't track you. But that's the truth. The key here is you have to prove everything that you say, and it's very simple to do. If you can't prove it, don't claim it.
Well, what I do is I have paper copies. I don't have them on, they're not scanned. I have them all with me. I have everything they want right with me. It just takes me a while to find it. And they're in a hurry, and I'm not. I got all day. We'll be right back. Yeah, instruction that matters, and that's what we're talking about today, instruction that matters. So Kurt Wilson, SE1.US, one of the things that I would ask during the seminar about taxes is the security system. And I would say, well, can you deduct the cost of a security system if you have a business? And people would say, well, yeah, I think so. That's okay. That's true. You can. Now, let's talk about that security system. What would it be like? And they say, well, one of these things that, the perimeter alarm system, maybe a motion detector. And I say, that's good. Okay. Now, does it have to be connected to one of those services that, if someone breaks in and the alarm trips, that, it calls them automatically and then they send the cops? Does it have to have that? And they go, no, I don't think so. I go, well, that's true. It doesn't. Now, so what you do is you read publication 17 and you read between the lines and you figure out what you think they mean. And then you interpret what you think they mean by these words that they use, and then you apply them to your business. And what kind of business? Any kind of business. You can have a recipe business. You can sell recipes on the internet, and now you have a bona fide business. All right. I mean, I'm not saying that it's a great idea, but I'm saying you can be a dog groomer. You can be anything you want, whatever your heart desires. You can have as your business. And then the next question I would ask is, well, what about a biological security system? Is that deductible? They go, what do you mean? Well, how about a dog? They go, well, okay, yeah, I guess so. They go, yeah, it's true. It can be. It can be a dog. Now, what about a Chihuahua? Does it have to be any special size? And then they go, that's an interesting question. Or does it have to be a German Shepherd? Or a Mastiff or something? They go, well, actually, I think a Chihuahua would be okay because they bark. And I'd say, well, that's a good point. Because we have 4 dogs. We used to have 5. We have 4 now. 1 died. And one would start the barking. He's the oldest one. He would start barking, and he would say, hey, guys, listen, look up. Something's happening. They'd all start. So now, are all those dogs part of the security system? Absolutely. Absolutely. And then what about cats? Well, we have a farm, and we have mice, and it's a problem. And the cats are on patrol. They have a job. So the cat food, the vet bills, the trips to the vet, the cat litter, the cat, litter box, the dog food bowls, those are all tax deductions. I don't need a dog. The business needs a dog. The business needs protection. And the dogs run off predators, 2-legged and 4-legged. It works real well. And the cats, they're on patrol protecting our farm equipment. So those are deductions. What I'm saying, class, is you can read between the lines. Now, I'm not saying that I'm making this up. I'm just saying these are bona fide tax deductions if you have a business that you can justify it. Kurt, what are your thoughts?
I never thought about that, but yeah, you can deduct all kinds of different things. I used to do with the gun show circuit. I used to do all over the Western United States, and we had a hell of a lot of deductions because when you're traveling, of course, you're gonna have to. I mean, we lived in our trailer, so
even that coffee mug. Even that coffee mug that's, in the console there, so that you can drive safely, and that's part of your business. I mean, you wouldn't need it if you weren't going to those gun shows. Heck, you wouldn't even need the belt to hold. You wouldn't even need the belt to hold up your pants if you weren't going to the gun shows.
And we didn't deduct. You know how you deduct meals? We didn't deduct meals because we didn't have meals. We deducted cost of food because we bought food to put into the trailer. There's a lot of ways to play the game.
Sure.
But truthfully, there's no game that legally we have to play. We know 3 people out here who have actually fought the government, the IRS, and won. And the winning was they do not legally have to pay taxes.
That's a huge win.
Oh, it is. And the mainstream media and the government has kept them quiet like you wouldn't believe. They would not allow any media in there in any way, shape, or form, but the Patriots were in there. And one thing I'll tell everybody here, when you meet with any authority figure, if you have a cell phone, hit record and tell them, I'm recording this conversation, and set the phone right down there on the desk. Always do that, because they lie, and then they change what you say to mean something else.
Yep, very good point. And here's what I do. I write, when I prepare the taxes, I write in the margin on publication 17 that I print out why I took whatever deduction. So they say, Mr. Finelli, what? Please defend this deduction. I go, oh, hold on. I've got it right here. I'll turn the page sideways and I'll read it to them. Say, this is why I did it. And I go, oh, that's a good point. Okay, that's accepted. That's how I do it. Kurt Wilson, thanks so much for being with us. SE1.us. Class, above all, honesty and integrity. What happens next?